Stop learning. You already know enough. I know it might sound counterintuitive, but seriously, stop learning so much. Hey, welcome to my Epique Journey. This is Brandon DeVere. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate that. I know it might sound counterintuitive, but seriously, stop learning so much. It does sound a little bit ridiculous, but it's along the lines of, analysis by paralysis, right? We know too much and we try to implement too many things. And I want to kind of give a disclaimer here as I go through these through this journey, and I'm documenting all this stuff that's going on. I'm not trying to be a coach that sits up here and highlights all the things that you aren't good at and all the things that you're doing wrong and say. So when I say stop learning, there's a caveat with that. It's not necessarily me telling you what to do, but it's also me wanting to have you thinking like, hey, maybe I do know this stuff, because a lot of these things. Especially because I'm not trying to sit here and talk about all your flaws and tell you that you have all these different things wrong. And unfortunately, there's a lot of coaching out there that does that. And I've been frustrated with that a little bit. But the reality is I have tons of flaws, and I'm going to learn about more of them as I continue to document this. And my goal is to learn about them alongside with you and get better at them. And when I say something like stop learning, this is something that I'm telling myself, right? Because I do tend to learn a lot. I love to learn. I love to share. Again, the podcast that I had before, Learn for Two, was the idea to learn with the intent to teach to others. So I was constantly learning, constantly trying to share it with people, do classes, do whatever I could to get other people to learn these things that maybe they, like or don't like. Either way, it was me constantly learning, and I still am. But I think back to an event that I went to probably it was first week of December. So almost about a month and a half ago, right around a month and a half ago. And there were some powerhouse agents up on the stage, like amazing agents, super successful, all these things they're very good. And I went to day one, I saw it, had a notebook of notes like crazy. But I'll stop right there for a second. Because if you have been to any type of event trying to get better at your craft or learn more, what typically happens is a lot of times, and even the classes that I teach, so I try to switch them a little bit, but a lot of the times people are going in, you see everyone writing vigorously, just writing note, and then when it's done, you go home from that conference, or maybe this one happened to be in Las Vegas. Again, powerhouse hitters that are just amazing at what they do, top coaches, all that stuff. But I end up taking all these notes, and then you go, how do I implement? Where do I implement them? And the challenge, like for me, like I struggle with things because I have so many interests. Like I have curiosity, and things really interest me. So I go and I'll see this. I'm like, what if I try that? Well, that'd be cool. Like do that. I know that as agents, we get, kind of pigeonholed into being like, oh, your next shiny object. I don't necessarily look at that. I mean, maybe because it's me and I'm being biased, because I do have that thing where I'm like, hey, I'm going to try that. It's more of a genuine interest than it is like I'm looking, oh, that's the next shiny object that's going to be like the next get rich quick scheme. I'm more interested in like, hey, here's that skill. Because about 7 years ago, when I first started doing podcasting and writing and things like that, I went in to learn how to do things outside of real estate. Like I always realized that just real estate sales wasn't where I was going to end my career. And I've known this since I was 25 years old. And so about 7 years ago, I realized that I need to learn skills that happen or that are useful outside of real estate. So not that I have anything against door knocking and cold calling, which are just things that I don't like to do. But also I wanted to, learn things that I could use beyond real estate as the landscape shifts and changes, as we're seeing that with, different things happening in our industry where people are starting to leave now. And if all they did was focus on knocking on doors and cold calling, they're probably setting themselves up for a job as a telemarketer, door-to-door salesman, whatever that is. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. That's not what I wanted to do. So I focused on things like writing and storytelling and podcasting. And I heard somebody the other day, I was watching this YouTube video and people talking about, oh, wow, it's the new buzz thing to be storytelling. Well, storytelling has always been what is going to win. People identify and, have an affinity to stories. And we talk about, those who know, like, and trust you, like, those are the people that are going to want to work with you. And so you can create affinity through story. And I'll do just a couple brief stories here. But one was in my first podcast, one for two, not my first one, but the one that I referenced to. I shared a story of my son with him having a tough time with anxiety, and it was really tough, really difficult for me to share. And I shared it out finally because, you know, I'm of the belief, you know, Russell Brunson kind of taught a lot of things to me, not directly, but through books and his classes and things like that. But one of the things that I really took from him was there's somebody out there that needs to hear your voice, and in turn needs to hear my voice, right? So if I'm going to share these stories, there's someone out there finding out today that their son is or daughter is battling, like, oh wow, they're anxious. That's exactly how it happened with us. It went to school one day and boom, just like that. It was like now we're dealing with anxiety as with a child. And me, I freaked out a little bit because I was like, man, you're not a good enough father, and like beat myself up. Long story short, about a year after I aired that episode, I got a random DM in Instagram, and this person said, hey Brandon, just checking on your son. I listened to episode 96, the drama of a gifted child, and I just wanted to make sure that he's okay. Cheers from the Netherlands. So like that affinity that person felt and made a connection with, now will ever sell a home to someone in the Netherlands? Chances are likely not, but there was a connection made nonetheless. So that's why I talk about, you know, why I wanted to learn things like storytelling and things like that, because that story connected with somebody, and we ended up making a connection and had a brief conversation on it. And so anyways, the reason that I'm bringing back stop learning. So I was at this event again, action-packed, top agents from not only all over the country, but Canada as well. So North America, sharing tips, strategies, all this stuff, like high ticket coaches that charge 25, 30 grand to come speak for your event. We're putting it on. And I went for day one, took a bunch of notes, came home, brought them back. One of my best friends actually is one of the coaches there. So, you know, I went to go see him. He was in town hanging out. And so I went the following morning. And as I went in there, I told him, I sat down for about 45 minutes. I got up and I walked out and I said, hey man, I'm out. And he's like, what? You're already? I was like, I can't learn anymore. I don't want to learn anymore. Not because I think I know everything, but what I do know is that I'm not utilizing what I do know. I'm not maximizing what I already do know. And for people to kind of get, you know, sidetracked by learning new things, and that's for me, that's what I understand about myself. So maybe there are things that you need to learn. Maybe you have something that you're like, hey, this is, I know I'm dialed exactly. And unfortunately for me, I'm not that way. I have a friend that I have been envious of for 15 years. He told me almost 20 years now, but he told me years ago that he wanted to work at Costco. And I was like, that's awesome. He went and he worked at Costco. Now he's worked up like manager of a Costco somewhere in the country. But I, like, the reason for me that I was envious of that is because I haven't found that thing that I'm just like, hey, that's that one thing that I want to do. That's that one thing, and I'm just going to strive everything for it. So in turn, I end up learning all these things. And as I'm trying to learn these things, like the focus becomes a little bit further out. And so that's why I'm saying stop learning, because the more you learn, if you're like me, if the more you learn, the more distracted you get, and the more out of focus your goals become. On the flip side of that, I listened to Matthew McConaughey on an interview a while back, and he was talking about how you need to find out what you don't like before what you do like. And unfortunately for us, most of us, myself included, will never, I say tragedy, maybe that's a little too harsh of a word, but I do believe it's a tragedy. The tragedy is that most of us will never really get to know what we're good at or what we really enjoy doing, because we get caught up in, making money to live, things like that, right? So we end up getting better. Like, I've kind of fell into real estate just like most everyone else that got into real estate. I don't have, on the pie chart of the percentages of people that grew up from like age 5 that said they wanted to be a real estate agent is probably probably quite a sliver there. And people end up getting into it. And then when you get there, like myself, I get into it. And then now everything that I'm learning is still kind of in that little Venn diagram of of real estate, but not completely knocked out of that, doing something completely separate from it. So, unfortunately, we won't get to test as many things as we want to do and learn all the things that we don't want to do before we learn the things that we do want to do. We just don't have enough time. So anyways, that's just, something. Again, I'm not here to tell you that all the different ways that you're broken and why that you need to do this and do that. Really, it's this journey that I'm going on. And as I was on my walk this morning, I'm listening to a podcast and I'm started listening. I'm like, man, okay, do I need, like, most of us already have the tools we need to succeed. It's just we keep trying to add to them, and then it takes the focus out. And that's 100% for me. And so just being transparent with you guys, and that I, this is the learning. This is a learning moment for me. This is 100% of the journey that I'm documenting, especially going from, a pretty solid ground to something that's brand new. And this is all part of it. So, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great one.